The truth for a number of young men out there is that a faithful partner is harder to come by these days. Although society likes to demonize men with stories about their infidelity, immaturity, and lack of commitment, here is the truth. A large group of young men in the West would love nothing more than to have kids and a family. They dream of teaching their son to ride a bike, or having a cookout surrounded by the dearest family and friends. Yet they face pressure on all sides. Their jobs are being replaced by artificial intelligence. Their ability to buy a home is being locked behind steep mortgage rates. And for your average man without celebrity status or looks, finding a loyal wife is nearly impossible. And so, what is their reaction? The truth is that most men give up on family. They focus on their career and on growing themselves, and in this stoic peace and virtue, they find happiness. Sometimes this new aura brings them a loving partner. Normally, it at least yields some level of fulfillment. But at the end of the day, for many men, it feels hollow. So then, men do something that historically was frowned upon by many. An action seen as being cringy and creepy only a few decades ago by many of the older generations. It is an action rooted historically in pleasure and in power dynamics. However, things have changed. Men now very often seek a partner abroad, and sometimes they even decide to leave their Western homeland forever. In today's world of dating, many men have become frustrated with the digital circus that modern apps have turned relationships into. Endless swiping, superficial profiles, and algorithms that leave more to chance than choice have led countless men to experience the sense of helplessness of waiting for a needle to appear in a haystack. It is a modern paradox, Meng Ari told, to play the game of dating. Yet this game seems to only grow more complicated, tedious, and frankly not rewarding. But, as frustrating as the current dating scene is, it might also be the very catalyst for a shift that draws heavily from a philosophical tradition called pragmatism. Pragmatism, at its core, is a philosophy of practical, real-world problem solving. It values action, results, and direct engagement with life. This philosophical approach explains why many men today are moving beyond the passive waiting game of swiping right, and instead are actively seeking international love in cultures where directness, commitment, and sincerity are still valued. Pragmatism, as articulated by philosophers like William James and John Dewey, is about assessing ideas and actions by their practical consequences. It is less concerned with abstract theories and more with the concrete results those theories produce in everyday life. In the context of relationships, it means choosing paths that work. If endless online dating is leading to frustration and loneliness, why persist with a method that yields little? In such a scenario, pragmatism pushes men to seek alternatives. Enter the international search for love. Many men pursue relationships in cultures where love and commitment are approached more directly. Many societies, particularly in the global south, still value straightforwardness in romantic pursuit. In places where tradition and community still shape interpersonal relations, the approach to love is simpler, more rooted in purpose. It's not about playing games or maintaining an elusive, nonchalant attitude. It's about finding someone and committing to them. And in these cultures, there's a cultural expectation of seriousness from the start. Relationships aren't a game of chance, but a serious endeavor that begins with directness and mutual understanding. This is where pragmatism comes in. Men who are tired of the endless cycle of modern dating apps may be turning to cultures where relationships are more functional, even if the approach may seem strange or uncomfortable from a Western perspective. In these cultures, men might ask women more directly if they would like to spend their lives together. No coffee dates, no getting to know you phase, and certainly no waiting for months to see if the connection deepens. There's a refreshing simplicity to this. What you see is what you get, and while it may seem creepy or even desperate in the eyes of modern Western sensibilities, pragmatism recognizes it for what it truly is, an attempt to bypass the randomness of modern dating and focus on clear intentions. The outcome, fewer wasted hours, more meaningful connections, and ultimately, a greater chance of finding lasting love. This direct approach, so common in many parts of the world, is not a modern anomaly. It is a historical norm. It wasn't all that long ago that relationships in the West, too, were more straightforward. There was an expectation that once a man and a woman found each other, they committed to one another without the endless, fruitless exploration that dating apps seem to encourage today. The shift towards casual relationships, the focus on fun and experimentation, and the commodification of romantic encounters are relatively recent phenomena in human history. And while these changes have brought with them some positive aspects, such as increased sexual freedom and the breakdown of outdated gender roles. They have also led to the frustrations we see now, a dating culture that feels transactional, exhausting, and devoid of meaning. For the pragmatist, the answer is clear. If the current system doesn't work, try a new one. Seek what's practical. Go to where relationships are direct and where intentions are known from the outset. Many men have found that in cultures where a romantic commitment is taken seriously from the first conversation, the chances of finding a genuine partner are far greater than in the world of swiping right and endless texting. This is not a call to abandon Western dating altogether, but rather a recognition that in an increasingly globalized world, it is possible to draw from a variety of traditions and philosophies to create a more fulfilling and practical approach to love and commitment. This kind of shift isn't just about finding love, it's about pursuing what works. Pragmatism teaches that the best way to solve a problem is by finding what truly gets results. And for many men today, that means bypassing the endless waiting game of Western dating in favor of cultures where relationships are built on honesty, commitment, and the willingness to directly ask, "Would you like to spend your life with me?" Critics of international dating often argue that it is nothing more than wealthy men from developed nations taking advantage of poorer women from the global south. This concern is not entirely without basis. Anyone who has walked through the red light districts of Thailand or the Philippines has seen the darker side of global relationships. There are indeed men who travel abroad with intentions rooted in lust, power, or escape rather than in love or partnership. These situations are real, and they deserve honest acknowledgement. However, it is a mistake to assume that all international relationships fall into this category. There is a profound difference between a man whose goal is pleasure and indulgence, and a man whose goal is family, commitment, and shared purpose. These men operate from entirely different philosophical foundations. One might say they are not only choosing different actions, but living by different worldviews altogether. The man who seeks pleasure without responsibility is an Epicurean in the modern sense. He is focused on maximizing enjoyment and minimizing discomfort. When this mindset is applied to international travel and relationships, it results in superficial encounters, where people become commodities and affection becomes a transaction. The goal is satisfaction, not connection. This is the mindset that drives the seedier corners of international dating, and it is exactly what many critics are reacting to. Their concern is valid, but it applies only to a specific kind of man with a specific philosophical outlook. The man who seeks a partner abroad for reasons rooted in pragmatism is entirely different. He is not driven by indulgence, but by clarity. He has evaluated the modern dating landscape around him and found that it does not align with his goals of building a family, finding loyalty, and committing to a shared future. Instead of staying trapped in a system that leaves him empty and isolated, he takes a practical step towards something that works. This is the realist approach, guided by the principles of Stoicism and pragmatism. Take action where action is effective. Focus on what can be changed, and seek outcomes that lead to a meaningful life. To a pragmatist, international dating is not about exploitation. It is about mutual benefit and mutual intention. It is about finding someone in a culture where direct communication and long-term commitment are still valued. Both partners know what they want from the start. There is no game, no manipulation, no endless cycle of temporary flings disguised as modern romance. There is simply the clarity of two people seeking stability and family. This realist or stoic pragmatist is not traveling for pleasure. He is traveling for purpose. He is not looking for entertainment. He is looking for a partner. He is not seeking to use someone. He is seeking someone to build a life with. His actions come from an entirely different place than the man wandering through nightlife, with a pocket full of cash and no long-term intention whatsoever. Understanding this difference matters. Without it, all international relationships get painted with the same brush, and the men who are sincerely trying to build families become unfairly grouped with those who exploit vulnerable environments for gratification. This does nothing to help the conversation and everything to cloud it. The truth is simpler than the controversy implies. There are two kinds of men seeking relationships abroad. One is guided by indulgence, and the other by intention. One chases pleasure, while the other pursues purpose. One lives by Epicurean impulses, and the other by realist, stoic, and pragmatic principles. Only one of these paths leads to lasting partnership. Only one leads to family, meaning, and stability. And only one reflects the philosophy of a man who has decided to stop waiting for luck and instead create the life he wants through deliberate, thoughtful action. In the end, society would do well to show greater understanding toward young men who simply want love, stability, and a family of their own, instead of casting aspersions on those who look abroad for meaningful relationships. Critics might first look in the mirror and ask whether the modern dating culture they defend truly offers men and women the chance to build lasting bonds. Many men who pursue international relationships do so not out of exploitation or escapism, but out of a pragmatic desire for commitment in a world where commitment has become rare. Their intentions are natural and deeply human, shaped by a longing for connection rather than a hunger for indulgence. If you find value in discussions like this and want to explore more topics on philosophy, make sure to subscribe to the channel for similar content. Thanks, bros, for coming here today and listening. See you again soon.